Billy's got the boys early because we're feeling pretty good tonight, boys and girls. Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to High Top Sports. Look, we had a great day thus far, 2 commits. And I told you I'd see you later on tonight, whether we got a commit or we didn't. We'd see it, we'd talk about it. We've got Stephen Harris joining us today, ladies and gentlemen. We don't waste too much time. We'll get back. Mr. Harris, look, he knows the drill. We'll get back to Mr. Harris. He's going to be with us. But we got a special guest putting in the extra hours, putting in the OT to talk about this big weekend. But don't go anywhere. Big giveaway signed by a Gator great, not named Harris, although we may want to do that too, but we'll get into it. Keith Napier joins the show.
Hey, Stephen Harris needs a warm-up back, man. I'm like Gilbert Gottfried. He's like Andrew Dice Clay, okay? He's got to have somebody setting it up here.
Got to get the layup in there, man. My man Keith, it's been a Jubilee June kind of weekend. I assume you know. Yeah. I'm sure your fingers are broken from typing away, writing away. I don't know. I mean, it's new age. You got a little bit of time. Give us the hot take. How we feeling? How is this thing going to trend over the next 48 hours for us, Keith?
Well, let's just go back up for a second here.
Yeah.
Back for a second. I can't even talk. But I guess it was 4 weeks ago, Florida had 1 commitment on the board. Now, remember, they had commitments earlier, but Devin Jackson, a safety, decommitted.
That's right.
You had the kid at Arm decommitted. You had Isaiah Williams, the number 1 linebacker in the country, was committed for a little bit before he flipped to Ole Miss. So 4 weeks ago, though, Florida had 1 commitment. It was 4-star quarterback Will Griffin of Tampa Jesuit down in my neck of the woods. And they were outside the top 75 in the recruiting team rankings for On3. So, yeah, look, they weren't going to stay with 1 commitment forever. We know that. We knew a run was going to come. It was just a matter of when. Last year, the run didn't come until real late, right? It came late in the year. Florida barely had over 10 commitments, going into the second half of the season. And you're thinking, man, if they don't win some games, if the money doesn't start coming in to be able to get guys, what's going to happen? Well, they won, and they flipped like 10, 11, 12 guys late, all right, and really put their stamp on that class. But this year you thought, okay, off of the finish of last season, off of having DJ Lagway, there's no talk of the head coach being on the hot seat. The Swamp guys was alive, that the LSU and Ole Miss games. I'm sorry, I'm getting text here. The LSU and Ole Miss games, it was like the old Swamp when Mr. Harris played, right? So everything was feeling good. Yeah, everything seemed to be aligning. You're thinking, okay, these guys are going to start hot. But that's not really how this staff operates. I mean, obviously, they wouldn't mind taking commitments early from elite guys, but they take their time. They reset the board during the spring evaluation period when they go out and they're constantly evaluating guys. They're not just going to take a guy early because of what On3 or Rivals or anybody else says. They're going to do their own homework, right? And so it always takes a little bit more time. They're a little bit more methodical, and that can drive people crazy. So, again, sitting outside the top 75, 1 commitment. And now I'm looking at it right now. Florida's 13th after 2 commitments today and 1 yesterday. Again, sitting at 13th. You've got how many commitments here? I got to think here. I think there's 9 or 10 guys. I got
10.
Yeah. 10. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 guys, and they're all legit dudes. All right. And now one of them, Jameer Perez, is a defensive lineman. He's visiting Ohio State this weekend. He's from Ohio, so we got to keep an eye on that one. But regardless of that, from 1 commitment to 10 commitments in a 4-week stretch of guys they like, all these guys. These are not. Sometimes you take guys early and you hope they turn into something, and sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. These are guys that they had a high value before spring practice, and some of them even higher after they went out and looked at these guys in the spring. So I think if you're a Florida fan, you got to be happy. I mean, the highest ranked guy there's no 5-stars in the class. There's no top 100 recruits yet. But when you look at this group, there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of 4-stars, some high upside guys like the guys who committed today. That's a perfect example. Ceiling guys, a 6'5" receiver, Marquez Daniel from Tuskegee, Alabama. I've been there, great little town. But you watch him and you say, there's some tools there, right? This is a big dude, okay? And Florida loves those tall receivers. We know Billy Gonzalez does. Then you look at Jeraylin McCord, the 4-star defensive lineman from Mississippi. Well, Mississippi doesn't have a lot of recruits every year. It's a small population state, but like Alabama, the big guys can sometimes hit big, okay? And I think of one guy, an example, Chris Jones was a guy nobody had heard of until late in the cycle, and then there was an all-out battle between Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Now you know why. He's one of the best defensive players in the NFL. Jeraylin McCoy is from Tupelo. That is 30 minutes east of Oxford and only like 90 minutes north of Starkville. So you knew that was going to be a battle. His mom went to Mississippi State, but he didn't want to stay in state. You're seeing that more and more. It used to be, Steven knows this, used to be guys from Alabama and Mississippi, man. You had to work to get those guys to leave those states, right? And then there was this one cycle where a bunch of guys left the state of Mississippi, and it seems like ever since then, that sort of opened the door for other guys. And Florida's had some success there. Obviously, KD Daniels, they think, has got a bright future running back. So Florida's got some credibility right now in Mississippi. They landed Marquez Daniel out of Alabama. I mean, I just wish people understood. To get a guy away from Auburn that lives 20 miles from Auburn ain't easy, man. There's a lot of that is not a transient population state like Florida, okay? Some of those people in Alabama have had family in Alabama for 200-300 years, okay? There are strong ties to that state, right? And so to get guys out of there like a Marquez Daniel is impressive, quite frankly. And now, look, we don't know what these guys are going to do down the road, but what you're seeing, where they're ranked, who's offered. You know, you can't just look at offer lists, but who could they commit to, all right? Well, Draylon McCoy could have committed to Texas or to LSU. Well, those two schools do pretty good with defensive linemen last time I checked, getting guys in the NFL, okay? Yeah. So that's a win. Marquez Daniel, Florida beats Auburn. Well, you know, Auburn hadn't been winning, so if you're not paying attention, you're probably thinking, well, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is they may have one of the 2 or 3 best receiving units in the country right now at Auburn, believe it or not, okay?
Cam Coleman plays there, ladies and gentlemen. Guy's a stud.
That's right.
He's a dude.
And don't forget, they may have one better than him, the kid that transferred from Georgia Tech.
Eric Singleton.
So, who might be a first-round draft pick, that kind of potential. So this is a good win. Now, you got to hold on to these guys, obviously. But another good win. And then yesterday, Carson Baker, the 4-star running back from Langston Hughes High School, great school. I love going there. I've been there a dozen times. When I covered Auburn, they signed a guy from there and recruited another guy who ended up at Georgia. Great program, just west of where Cam Newton went to school at Westlake. And so those guys, what do we say about Langston Hughes guys? Well, Florida just signed Tavares Dice, the offensive tackle. I guess he could play guard too, but from their last year, from the last cycle. And that school was putting out guys at big programs, and those kids are used to winning. There's a very high expectation there. I think they might have set the state of Georgia offensive scoring record 2 seasons ago, something like 800 points scored. I mean, just ridiculous statistics. Yeah. They can. This is a good program, right? Well coached, kids that expect to win, kids that play hard. And Carson Baker, who did you beat there? Well, when he officially visited Florida back in May, going into that visit, everybody thought Ohio State was the team to beat. Well, coming out of that visit, he canceled his Ohio State visit. So I'm sure, who knows, right? You never get a total 100% accurate answer. Ohio State may say, oh, well, we canceled that. Who knows? I don't know. But he could have gone to many other schools. In fact, officially visited Florida State last week. Yeah. And they thought they made a big move. And instead, he commits to Florida the next weekend. That's not Pouncey twins flip. It's not that bad, okay, from FSU. But, he was just on your campus last week. You felt good. You had good vibes. And then he commits to your arch rival Florida Gators the next week. But so these are good wins. It's not just – I'm going on and on. Forgive me. I get all excited. But it's not just what a kid – First of all, Steven knows. I bet he's probably badmouthed our rankings many times, like most players. No. But it's not just a ranking. It's not just a ranking that matters, right? I mean, it matters. Coaches will – they act like it doesn't matter, but boy, they love promoting them when they're good. But who did you beat? Who did you really beat to land a guy, right? And so not just who their offer list is, because a lot of times, and people get mad at Hayes Fawcett, who I work with, because he'll say such and such picked Arkansas over Florida. He's just going by what the kid tells him. Only the schools really know who has committable offers and who doesn't. But who did you really beat? Well, we know that in these 3 instances, Florida beat their arch rival for one guy and then beat 2 programs with some elite guys at those positions for the other one. So you're seeing a lot more of those too, right? You're seeing a lot more of those. So it seems like they're recruiting pretty well. And, it's been a big weekend. And I think there's some guys, I don't have the schedule in front of me, but there's some guys that may be announcing next week, and they may be in good position with those guys. And let's put it this way. I think Florida's going to have less work to do in the stretch run this cycle than they had to do last year. But now we say that, but if the team takes it up another level this year, then that opens more eyes, and you always are going to save some room for a 5-star like a Sadarian Morgan, the receiver out of Alabama, guys like that. Some guys change their mind. There are so many guys in that last class that this time a year ago we thought, no, it's not happening, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Was Byron Lewis on anyone's radar to end up at
No,
Florida?
last minute
You know what I
pickup.
mean? Yeah.
Jaden Woods too
Hilton
is another one I
Stubbs.
feel like came out of nowhere as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
that one absolutely. And okay, who did you beat? Well, he flipped from Penn State, correct?
Yeah.
You mean the same Penn
Yeah,
State that
Stubbs
some
said
people
it too.
That's right. The same Penn State that some people think is a legit national title contender this year based on who's coming back, returning quarterback, Phil Troutwine, the O-line coach, loaded roster, right? So that's who you beat. And again, that's what we're talking about. Byron Lewis flipped from your arch rival. Any arch rival wins good. Drake Stubbs flipped from Miami. So, wasn't that long ago Florida was getting wins. You always see the decline. I saw this when I covered Auburn. I hate to say it. But the 9 years I covered them, at the early part, 2013, 2014, Gus Malzahn was riding high. They had Will Muschamp for a year at defensive coordinator, and they were beating Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, LSU for dudes. Year 5 or 6, you're no longer beating those teams. You're now competing with NC State. I'm not knocking those programs, but now instead of competing with Alabama, you were landing guys over NC State, who, by the way, does a great job evaluating defensive players.
We know what you're saying, Keith. You're good.
Beating the Arkansas. yeah. So when I started covering the Gators again, and I'd covered them years ago, but when I started covering them again 2 years ago, you weren't seeing a lot of those wins. The last cycle, they started getting some guys again, or a couple cycles ago. I mean, Mekhi Barrow, I believe, could have gone to Georgia. I mean, they were starting to beat
that's
people.
important.
Yeah, and then this last cycle, a lot more. Again, Penn State wins over Penn State, Miami, Georgia, Texas. You got Joseph Mbachu.
FSU. We damn near saw the whole class at the end there. So
yeah. Well, they won 2 games, bro. I mean,
listen, W's a W, Keith. I'm gonna make sure they remember what happened.
But I was actually, I don't want to say who, somebody I know that covers, I'll just say another school that didn't have a great season last year. I said, they were kind of lamenting that it wasn't fun covering the recruiting because they weren't really getting anybody right now. I said, well, look, a year ago, who was Florida getting right now?
Yeah.
They went out, they did something about it. You know what I mean? So it can turn fast, but Florida's got a lot of momentum. It's a program people are talking about. These are big wins today. Draylen McCoy's a big win. Marquez Daniel's a big win. I still feel like Marquez Daniel's sort of a
popped out of nowhere.
Yeah, diamond in the rough type. And again, we in this NIL world, and he's going to be just fine NIL, I'm sure. But there's still that relationships angle. If all things are equal, then the relationships take over. Yeah. Chad Lucas, an off-the-field staffer at Florida who played in the NFL, he went to the same high school as Marquez Daniel. He was very good friends with Marquez Daniel's mom back in high school. And they stayed friends. And lo and behold, she has a 6'5" son who can play receiver.
Get this guy lying around if you guys want to toy with him. Hey,
those are good friends to have,
Hayes also tweeted out, we've been hearing some more possibilities to come. What are some things we're hearing on campus? Maybe some more commits. I mean, Marquez Daniel, I feel like, was one that came out of the clouds a little bit, right? Some other ones have some crystal balls. But there was no crystal ball for Marquez. Is there any more we could look forward to for this weekend? You say even hinted towards maybe next weekend some?
Well, we actually put in picks for Marquez earlier today, which is a little late. I get that. But
okay.
We had heard Yeah, we'd heard about 10 days ago that it was looking really good. But some people close to him were like, and by the way, we like to make money and we like to drive people to our website and all that stuff. That's what we do it for. But sometimes people will say, hey, can you hold off on that for a while? And we try to, we don't want to ruin it for somebody. But if they don't want, some kids don't care. To be honest with you, like a kid from Iowa, they're just like, hey, they'll call you up. Hey, I just committed to Iowa. That's just the way everybody's a little different, and then some people want to have 5 commitment ceremonies. You know what I mean? So, but I would think a guy to watch, maybe. I mean, look, Malik Morris. That's a recruitment where we linebacker, 4-star linebacker from Lakeland. Pardon me. I actually saw him play when he was a sophomore. They played a game at Buchholz in Gainesville in the state semifinals, and I don't remember him because I was watching Miles Graham. Okay, but Jay Bateman was at that game. Then Florida's linebackers coach, and Jay Bateman is now very much in that recruitment, or one of the top 2 because he's the DC at Texas A&M. So we think Texas A&M Florida battle, and I think Florida has always sort of felt good there.
Okay,
6'1.5", big linebacker. He's about 250 right now. He's been injured, so he's going to probably end up being 225 by the time he gets to college. But I would think that Florida's got a good shot with him. I mean, again, these things turn on a dime now. Let's be honest. They always did, but maybe even a little more so now. I've heard that. Well, let me get the list out here. We've heard that Trenton Henderson, LSU led coming in, 4-star edge from Pensacola.
Oh, that's a 5-star edge in my book, Mr.
Okay,
Mr.
well,
Keith.
there you go. Oh, by the way, fantastic interview. One of the nicest dudes around. Like I'd put Vernell. Well, they all were, but Vernell Brown, Jalen Wiggins, nice up in that elite category. So
Wiggins
I would
is great.
keep an eye on him. And again, I think there's some optimism, confidence. I don't know that Florida's made a big move this weekend.
Steve,
Of course, as a staff, what do you?
Fire me up here, Keith. That would be
you know, I'm a lineman. So
yeah, big time. That's a big bitch. You pair that up with McCoy and possibly Rodney Cleveland. I mean, here we go.
Yeah.
So we're gonna. Blake Alderman and I and Corey Bender was up there. I want to say last weekend. Blake Alderman and I will be in Gainesville tomorrow, and you have to. I don't want to say separate fact from fiction, but when you go on a visit, I think the guy on the show with us knows this. You're always going to pump up the school in interviews right after your visit.
Yeah.
There's a visit high. Then it's up to people like us to figure out, okay, what's really going on? Because a week ago, Carson Baker, or last Sunday, Monday, said Florida State, Florida were neck and neck. Well, what happened? He just committed to Florida 4 days later, okay? Nothing happened, all right? So we've got to separate all that. But I do believe there's some optimism the Florida side on Trent Henderson. By the way, I'm not saying anything I haven't told our subscribers. I got to get that plug in. So Malik Morris is one. Trent Henderson's the other. Let me go down the list here. Yeah, you got 14 official visitors, and there's guys that you're going to get. Well, first of all, there's guys you already have. Then there's guys you're going to get. Then there's guys you're 50-50 battling tough schools for. And then there's some, I don't want to say Hail Marys, but you always bring in a few long shots because one day a guy's a long shot and maybe Ohio State picks somebody else at the same position and Notre Dame does too. And next thing you know, you're the lead dog. So you've got to swing. You got to swing for the fences on these guys. So Caden Prothro is a 5-star tight end, right? So we think, look, Georgia's having a pretty good run of tight ends right now, right? Can we agree with that? Yeah. And he's probably leaning Georgia. Auburn is in the mix and Florida's in the mix, but Georgia's already got one tight end committed. Maybe somebody comes onto campus. Maybe they meet their future wife. Maybe they just really click with the coach. Maybe they click with the coach. Maybe they go to a restaurant that's the best pizza they've ever had. I mean, you never know. Listen, there was a guy. I can't remember the guy. Wasn't there the guy, the linebacker that said he picked Auburn over Clemson because Clemson didn't have Chick-fil-A? You remember that? You guys remember that story?
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
He just never. So you got to give it a shot. And Caden Prothro, quality young dude, right? By the way, he's related, a distant relative to the Prothro that played receiver at Alabama that you guys remember had the horrific injury against the Gators.
Prothro family, man. God bless Prothro family.
Good family, by the way. I don't know how close he is with Tyrone, but Caden's a good dude. They've got an Alabama offensive lineman on campus this weekend, Chris Booker. Well, he's from Atlanta. Florida's had some success in Atlanta. I believe there's some connections to him. So, you try. You try. Those seem like more like long shots. Davian Grosse, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, from Frisco, Texas, 4-star receiver athlete. They say he's a special player. You haven't heard much buzz about him. Not a lot of Florida chatter. Well, that's what this weekend's for. They'll have a better gauge for it. If he likes it, has a great time, maybe he says, I'll go back in the fall. I mean, you got to try if there's guys you really like. But this next guy is a guy you absolutely got to watch, Kendall Gervil. Ever since Texas joined the SEC, we've started to see some Florida-Texas battles emerging. Yeah. They've won some. There's no doubt they've won some. So this weekend, there's two. Well, Florida got Draylen McCoy, who Texas liked. But this weekend, there's two visits of note. One of where they're Florida and Texas are battling for the D lineman, right? You don't win without good D linemen. I know that, right? And one of them, Rodney Cleveland, was just at Florida. He's from Birmingham. Birmingham Parker, I want to say it's a school right next to Legion Field, right there. He is at Texas this weekend, all right?
Yeah.
50-50. Kendall Gervil, defensive lineman from Fort Myers, he is at Florida this weekend, 50-50 maybe with Texas and Florida. Optimism on both sides for both these guys.
Yeah, I love maybe.
Yeah, and so Kendall Gervil, we're going to get more tomorrow at the end of his visit. Not a ton of info has come out of it so far, But we have heard that Florida has always felt like, well, let me put it this way. I think this is his 10th visit to Florida. Now, we used to say follow the visits. I think the follow the visits meant more probably 10 years ago than now with NIL, because now you see kids visiting, Tennessee 7 times, and they go to USC 1 time and they commit on the spot. So you just don't know who knows, right? But just somebody to watch, obviously there. And there's a few more guys. Isaiah Williams, we mentioned him earlier. He's been committed to 5 different schools. Depending upon who you talk to, one of the top 5 rated linebackers in the country. He's from Leesburg, but he goes to Tavares High, which I think is just right down the road from Leesburg. But really good player, was committed to Florida, was committed to a few other schools. I lost track of them all, Syracuse, Louisville. Currently committed to Ole Miss. Well, Florida's always felt like they'll be in it. They'll be in that one. So those are guys you keep an eye on. Desmond Green, offensive lineman, Florida really likes, from South Carolina. Haven't heard much about him, but they feel like they're in it with that one. So, and then one more. I don't know how you pronounce his last name. 3-star offensive tackle. People are like, 3-star, who cares? Well, some of these guys are 3 stars now and are going to be 4 stars in 2-3 months. You know what I mean?
For sure.
That because Florida just went out and saw all these guys practice in May, and not only saw them, got body measurements, arm length, hand size, all the important stuff that we don't think about, right? But Tyler Chuckium, I hope I'm pronouncing that close to being right, is from Paulding County High School, Douglasville, Georgia. I think that's right on I-20 from Atlanta to Birmingham. Right there. You can't miss it, right? Now, he's supposed to announce Monday. Florida State, Cincinnati, and one other school. I can't remember. But he's a riser. He's a guy that's – Ole Miss is the other school. So some people think Florida, Ole Miss. So he's kind of a guy that's rising. So keep an eye on him. But we haven't heard much on him. A lot of times during these visits, we know – people close to these kids that will help us out. Like, hey, I met the dad at a camp, let's say, and he's like, I really like Keith. Usually they don't, but if they do like me, then hey, maybe I'll fill that guy in on how the visit's going. You know what I mean? Haven't heard much on that one yet. But we get all the exit interviews tomorrow. Now, again, not every kid wants to do an interview. We're not going to hound them. If they want to do one, they want to do one. And that'll, even if it's so glowing that you're like, come on, man. There are some hints in there, and a lot of times they'll just say, hey, I just committed, but don't write anything. I'm going to do it tomorrow. Sure. You know what I mean? So what we should find out a lot tomorrow, and then obviously tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night, we'll be calling all our sources. All right, what can you tell us about this guy? But, I mean, all 3 of these guys that committed are in town this weekend, and other guys there saw them commit. There's that video, video out there. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's the momentum, it was a big.
Well, tell him, Keith, I appreciate you hopping on here, man, last minute and being able to give us his insight. But tell them where they can find you, because, again, tomorrow with those interviews dropping, I want people to be able to tap into it.
Just go to gatorsonline.com. That's the only place you got to go. Hey, Steven, where'd you go to high school before I got out here? I can't remember.
Coral Gables Senior High down in Miami.
Okay. That's so my parents, my dad went to Coral Gables. And,
okay, awesome.
And my mom went to Southwest. I
knew
you were from And let me. I wanted to ask. Can I ask him one question before I get out of here?
Yeah. Listen, you got. Look, you're the one that you got to rock and roll. You got time, man. We're good. We love you.
Well, so I was just in Miami last week to get a golf lesson, of course, and I lived in the first home I ever lived in. I went straight from Jackson Hospital the day I was born to our little tiny home, in Miami Springs. So I'm a Miami Springs guy. I ended up growing up elsewhere, but home of Lomas Brown, by the way, Miami Springs High.
Right.
But
that's my frat brother.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, do you think last year's cycle, Florida signed like 6 guys from down there? As a South Florida guy, I mean, all the great Florida teams, dating back to the 1950s all the way through, Well, how do you feel about that? Do you think that does Florida have any cred down there right now?
Yeah, for sure. I think just the vibe with the team, what we're doing, it speaks volumes that we're getting these guys from down there right now, especially with what they've been able to do in the past couple of years. For us still to be able to go down there and sneak those guys out of there, it means a lot. I think we've been looking at the Hester kid too, but then we got what's the guy that we just got? He just moved in not too long ago. The wide receiver, he's a returner.
The little guy.
Yeah, I'm missing the
I
name,
know
but
who you're
he's
talking about. Yeah.
yeah, fantastic player. I'm mad I forget his name.
And
Fantastic
that was
player, but
and by the way, that was coming off of a Florida loss to Miami last year. Imagine
yeah,
what the
yeah,
possibilities are. Florida can go down to Miami Gardens
What
and beat
for
them
recruiting
sure.
this year.
class?
And not this recruiting class that's just coming in. He just got in. He's a late coming in late.
Okay, I'll look. Keep going.
Yeah,
He's
the
with
kid
this
from Miami Northwestern. I'm just drawing a
yeah,
blank.
out of Miami
Javar's
Northwestern.
Javar's
And yeah. And to be
Flowers?
able to come out
You
of
said
Miami Northwestern.
Flowers?
no.
Flowers, yes, Flowers. Sorry,
Cornerback.
Flowers.
You said wide receiver. That's why I
Yeah.
was confused.
Yeah, I said he played everything. He played
Okay.
everything in high school. But to come out of Miami Northwestern and come to the Gators, that's a big deal. But we have Torian Charles that came in my year. That was out of Miami Northwestern, state leading sack leader.
They had that. They had
So,
that great. They had that great team that won
oh
the state
yeah,
championship.
yeah,
I
the
think
year
they
of the
beat.
bull. That's the documentary.
Yeah, I think they beat Adrian McPherson. I want to say in the state
But
championship game.
yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
And then Coral. So your high school, Coral Gables. I don't think.
yeah.
You say historically. I'm not sure any high school in Florida has been better to the University of Florida historically. I'm going back to the 50s than Coral Gables High. There were rosters that had a dozen Coral Gables in there.
Oh yeah, but when I went back and looked, I was like, wow, I was amazed just to see that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to tell you, man, that was great insight with you on the recruiting when you were talking about the actual battles that we actually win versus what comes out on paper when the kids saying, hey, these schools interested in me. Because there is a very big difference between committable offers and to your point where you were talking about how we address the spring. We had to go through our spring as well as the Gators, and then those kids are going through their spring. So we're addressing the needs as we're developing in the spring. Like, okay, these guys are further along. Maybe we don't need that position as much. So we might have been looking at you, but now we're not really looking at you like that. And we're going to go harder over here. And so those things make a difference. So I think it was important that you pointed that out for people who just kind of see it and don't really understand what's really going on. So thank you.
Yeah, and it works both ways. I appreciate that. It works both ways. You may see somebody that's really making a move that you maybe weren't suspecting to make a move on your team, a guy that's done some good things, and then a guy that maybe isn't doing the right things or getting in trouble off the field or acting out. So it's a year-round. These guys never stop. It's a year-round roster evaluation.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, that's it. Thank you guys for having me on.
Stuff.
I appreciate
it.
it.
Thank you, man. Thank you for hopping
you.
on last minute, and always a man, Keith. Great info, great insight.
Yep.
Like
All right,
Keith.
I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, man.
Thank
Go
you.
Gators, bub. Thank you. Fantastic stuff there, ladies and gentlemen, with Keith. Always a pleasure, man, having him off. Great insight, great information. And I think you're spot on. Again, these are things that we talk about, but I feel like sometimes people say that I believe I'm just saying it, kind of just to say it. But someone actually made a comment earlier. Hey, you showed all these people aren't elite. Well, I was like, look, the word elite, we can pick and choose what words you want me to use in the title. But the three, I try to make sure when I use elite that it has kind of some oomph. I'm not going to put it on a 3-star kid, right? Mm-hmm. The three guys that we got, a 6'2" running back, a 6'5" wide receiver, and a 6'6" defensive lineman. These are guys, again, I knew.
Well, they're already in the elite category of size. So
correct. And again, you go look at like who's offering them, where they stand, top 150 player or close to it. These guys are going to climb up in the ranks, more than likely. These are top end guys. So
a lot of people don't understand development either. They don't. These guys are developing. Some of these in high school, you're young. You can come in and your sophomore year, bro, I grew 5 inches in one summer.
Yeah. Huge.
You know what I mean? So you come in 3-star, and then you gain 30 pounds and put on all this muscle, and you're moving fast, and they go look at you like, whoa. And then you go see them dominate, and then the rankings change. But we're not coaches, so the fans aren't out there with their eyes on the ground looking at all these guys. They're just going off of stars, but they're not really evaluating. So I like to let these guys do their job. Obviously, Billy's been Billy and been successful at his evaluation. So I love it.
I thought about it. I mean, this is in my head constantly, guys, especially when we're in it. Just trying to think about good conversation, good dialogue. What can I bring to the table that gets us thinking, that's thought provoking? If you're in the middle of June watching, you're a junkie. Like, you enjoy this to a level that's probably unhealthy.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, we're literally in the middle of June. There's 300 plus strong in here. And we're talking about high school kids coming into a football team. Like, we love this stuff. We believe this
Saturday night,
right? So again, it's just like anything that we do. Like my buddy from Call Me Old Fashioned that talks about bourbon on a weekly basis. Like, You're a junkie on different levels. No, I'm just kidding. But look, he sent me a picture this morning of him making a drink. Yeah, we'll get into that. And I go, "Are you drinking?" And he's like, "No, I'm tasting. I'm tasting." I was like, "Oh, all right, that doesn't count then." So that's what we're doing. We're tasting on an elite level here. But yeah, my thought process was like, man, we want to criticize and get upset about these guys not being all 5-star cats, but let's talk about this team going into next year. The hype behind this team. We talked about it a few weeks ago. Where's the core of this team? It's from that 2023 football team when at the time didn't knock your socks off. Didn't have these 5-star guys that route everybody up, but they had dudes in it, right? And so this class fits that vibe with the Marquez Daniel, Jarrell McCoy, Justin Williams, Caden Hawley. These guys, when you look at them, they are just, the physicality they have is nuts. Carson Baker, I was correct when saying this, is the highest rated running back that Florida has got. Maybe I want to say over Trevor Etienne. He wasn't highly rated coming out of high school. We saw what he was able to do. Then you have Chancellor Camer, who's 6'8".
Touched in high school.
Who's that?
That's the Baker kid. I don't think he was touched in high school. Watching this film, oh my God.
I don't think he's been tackled. Yeah. And then you look at the bottom 3 stars. Let's look at the 3 stars, okay? Bottom 2 kids are from IMG. And that tight end, if you look at his stats, the write-up on him is phenomenal. And Chancellor Camer was a 6'8" offensive tackle. I think we'll be just fine, and we'll keep an eye on that how that thing cranks up. And as Keith was saying it again, these guys, are in the thick of it, and it feels good. It feels like these are high quality commits, not just kind of thrown together, just guys that are bought in and ready to rock and roll. So more insight. Those names he was saying, man. I mean, we might have to put the calculator here in a minute. Golly, so that thing. He was saying all kinds of stuff. I was like, damn near the whole everyone there visiting him.
He was on the roll, boy. Yes, sir. He was on the roll. I can't wait to see what happens tomorrow.
Time will tell, Mr. Harris. Time will tell. Let's talk about this really quick, and then we'll get into the giveaway. Is that fair?
Yeah.
All right. So this is a video of Will Griffin that's there right now. And before I play, what I want to say is what also excites me is seeing this video. We've had Will on. He still owes us a full paint up, which will, that's neither here nor there. But the amount of his commitment level to the Gators, how locked in he's been. It's been on a ship by himself. The only commit at one point has never wavered. At no point has showed any signs of wavering. And this reminds me of that 2024 season with DJ Lagway, where you have a staple at quarterback that's really helping just keep the vibe, keeping the leadership of that recruiting class. And a guy like Will Griffin that will continue to improve and already turned a lot of heads in the spring ball, will probably turn some more heads and have a huge impact, I believe, long-term, especially guys coming into this class. But somebody like this that has just created a staple fires me up. And this video just plays to that even more. Let's go ahead and click play now. Sync it up here.
How's everybody doing? I'm Will Griffin. I'm the quarterback commit in the class. I'm from Tampa, Jesuit, down here in Florida. I'm with my dad, family friend RJ, Miss Debbie, and my brother Jack, and my mom Michelle are on the way. They'll be here tomorrow. A little bit backstory about me. My dad, my uncle, my aunt, basically my whole family went here. So I've been coming here since I was little. It's been a dream to play here, and hopefully we can make that happen. And we want all y'all here. This is the last OV, the most special one, so don't be afraid to commit. I committed first. I've been here for over a year, and we're excited to have you. Go get it.
Don't be afraid to commit, baby.
Don't be afraid, baby.
I love it. I love it. Again, last OV, it's a special one. It's a big one. It's obviously the reason why we're having the big splash this weekend. I love seeing your quarterback step up. It's very easy for him to say, no, I'm good. Just someone else go talk. But it's like, hey, this is an opportunity for me to let them know, like, hey, like we're building something special. Come be a part of it.
Yeah.
To be that sound, it fires me up, man.
Yeah, he's holding the torch. He's holding the torch, man. I love it, man. I love it. It's always great. He's the quarterback, so you got to learn to lead early. Sure he's already been a leader, so he's just taking on that role now. And you want to see that out of your quarterback, especially if you're picking the school. And you want to be able to evaluate him and see what he is, because he's the future. So if you're in this class, that speaks volumes.
Guy's a junior in high school, guys. Like, keep that,
Yeah.
like that's, you know what I mean? Like, we kind of forget just because of how quick this
For
stuff
sure.
moves. But think about when you were 17 in high school, like stepping up in front of a room, having to have that composure and that mindset of like, hey, here's who we are, here's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
we speak well now. We're 30. We've been doing this for a little bit. Okay, like, it's a little bit easier
Yeah.
for me.
It's
But I can assure you,
definitely easy to have cold feet up there. He
Very.
wasn't stuttering. He took the mantle. I love it, man. I love it. Great young guy. Great young guy.
Love it. It feels good to know that that's the guy that's gonna be leading that locker room in a couple of years. My man Lane Change, $2. Super chat. Thank you, Lane Change. Shout out to Lane Change, man. Always
Shout out to
putting out
Lane
some
Change,
awesome,
man.
awesome.
We gotta
awesome
commit.
gear. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, let's talk about two things here. We've been going over a couple of different things here, but the big thing is we're gonna do a giveaway, right, Mr. Stephen Harris?
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I'll talk about how you enter the giveaway, and then I'll let Steve talk about what the giveaway is and kind of how cool this is. So you'll see the merch stores up on the right-hand side. We've been pumping it, talking a lot about it, how you get a part of this giveaway, and those that have already purchased something will be entered into this drawing will win something. So you purchase something on our store, which is links in the description. You have a chance to win what, Mr. Harris?
A nice bottle of tequila, Los Linderos. You like Linderos? No, they come out Linderos. No, it ain't really rolling right. I said it right the first time. Just clip that, and we gonna roll with that.
Say it again. Let me try it.
Linderos.
Los Linderos.
There we go. That
Linderos.
right there. Yeah. And is this brought to you by Brandon Spikes and Company. It's actually signed by Brandon Spikes. So you win you a nice bottle. We got the Resposado. Or the
That's sick. Orange and blue. I mean, shout out to him for having the sweet pink colors.
And it got the little shot top. So when you pour it, you know what I mean? You got the
Wow.
But beyond that, this is amazing. The best tequila I've ever tasted. I'm not even capping. I'm not even saying it just because he's my teammate. It's very smooth. It doesn't have all that bad stuff in it, and it's just great, man. It's great. Not gonna lie, it's great. But yeah, check out Spikes, man. Los Linderos. One more time for me, Sean. What is it?
Linderos. Yeah. He was there today.
Man,
there was video evidence
event,
of Mr.
We
Spikes.
had a great event
signing it
at Whiskey Willie's here in Tampa off Hillsboro. They actually have a couple cases left that he pre-signed. So if you guys are in the Tampa area, hit up Whiskey Willie's. It was great meeting him and his business partner, Mr. Carr. Great people. Got a great product. And yeah, man, the dope time.
There it is. So giving one of those bottles away again when you purchase some high top merch.
You can see that. And I got the authentication video posted on my Twitter if you guys want to see it.
Yeah, Rob says I gotta get some 4th of July merch. I mean, you gotta get it now because you want to make sure it gets there on time. It takes about a week and a half, 2 weeks, depending on where you are.
So if you cop something, you enter the raffle, man. And you. So it's like you buying the bottle, basically.
For the most part, but it's signed though, so it's a little more special. And you get some, and you look extra
Spikes,
sexy,
man.
Yeah,
Brandon Spikes,
and you look extra sexy. And look, we're gonna do another giveaway on Monday for Champs Corner. We're also working. Mr. Harris has been in the weeds trying to really put some things together with some interviews with some names that one we may have just mentioned, some other names we're talking about, and trying to do some cool stuff in the next week or so. So really stay in tune with it. But we're going to do a giveaway on Monday. I believe 2 tickets I think we're giving away. I know Stadium Miguel is giving away 2 tickets to this event, which this event's going to be incredible. We're working on getting Spikes there as well. I think that's part of in talks.
Yeah, he say he's in the area, so I'm definitely pushing for him and his guys and his brand and everything. So
there it is. So look, this is something we've been trying to really push to Gator Independent Gator Media Day, July 27th at the Magnitude Brewing Company, brought to you by something law. I can't remember the name. That's on me. I need to get an updated graphic so I can pronounce who's bringing it, who's our main sponsor for it. But look, this event's going to be incredible. Yeah. Mr. Harris is going to be there. A lot of great guys are going to be there. But be sure to check that out. Again, we're giving away 2 tickets to that on Monday to our high top members. So if you got a little piggy next to your name, you were in the drawing.
Yes, sir.
Well, Mr. Harris, you and I haven't got a chance to chat too much. Keith was throwing bones at us, man, getting us fired us up about this weekend. What are your thoughts, man, on the Jarrell McCoy commit and just so far these guys that have committed? I know you've been taking a look at
I love it. I love it, especially the McCoy, long frame. He doesn't shy away from contact. He's a guy that likes to hit his blockers and shed blockers. And then his rushing ability. He has a great first step, long stride. So when people watch it, you got to understand he's a long guy. You know what I mean? It doesn't look as twitchy as some of the smaller guys coming around the edge, but that first step is so long. He gets up to the offensive guy fast and make contact well, sheds blockers, runs guys down. I love it. I love it.
Great size,
especially at the sides, making contact with the guys with his hands and his face mask. A lot of guys, and he plays with his hand in the ground. That's big. And he goes both sides to be able to have your hand in the ground. A lot of guys these days are standing up and struggle sometimes when it's time to put your hand in the ground. So to see him playing like that at that size is awesome.
I love it, man. This class is coming together very nicely. Again, top 13 with on 3. I'm going to tell Keith to give me an on 3 calculator, see what he can put into the system, because we got 247 calculator, but they've been kind of slacking with I feel like them keeping up to date with their recruiting. So 282 strong, boys and girls. Let's smash that like button, show some love. Huge shout out to Keith.
Rob S. Vondy Cleveland is dominant easy 2.0. We got to get that kid.
That kid is a dude.
I love him.
That kid is a dude. I can't believe he said Trenton Henderson.
Man, what you waiting on?
I can't believe he said Trenton Henderson. That's the 5-star kid. They got him as a 4-star. Let's go. I'm going to put him onto that calculator real quick. Golly, boy. Yeah. That puts 6'4" edge. That puts our 247 with the Vondy Cleveland commit, because obviously he's been crystal balled to a total of 210. I believe that would put Florida into a top 10 class.
Top 10, yeah, for sure.
With just 2 more commits. And let's just, again, those are kind of make a wish. We have fun. We do those things. But a 210 would put us right behind Rutgers. Man, Rutgers out there cooking with gas with 23
Rutgers
commits.
Throwing the bag right now.
Yeah, so we'd be right behind them at that 10 spot. But boy, oh boy.
Don't sleep on Rutgers this year. Don't sleep on them. And some of you guys like to go see the bookie. Don't sleep on Rutgers.
Yeah, they're cooking, man. They are cooking right now. Golly. But look, man, great show. Great pop-up show. Appreciate you, Mr. Harris, for hopping on. I think this was great talking with Keith, getting to hear his insight.
Yeah.
He always yeah. I love it. He's like, I got
it's
much
different
time
to hear it in person. It's different to hear it in person and like be able to digest it in real time versus just seeing it in flashes. So to hear what he was saying, and just to know what it means, like those for sure wins, you can kind of see the tide and why the excitement is so high. For those for sure wins over some of these guys that we got last year that were committed other places. So that's a big shock when you realize the caliber of the guys we got. They hold a whole fan base and a whole class of people that's around them to themselves. Like, hey man, I want to go play with you when I get to college. You know what I mean? And so for them to make that switch, you just shifted a whole tide. You know what I mean? That's big. That's really big.
$2 from Keith says, stars aside, who's your top guy in the class? I mean, I was asking you, I think. You don't care about my opinion.
I'm going with the quarterback.
Yeah, Will Griffin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Will a lot. I'm excited. I'll go different just because you took Will. I'll take Carson. I don't know, man. Running backs are, I feel we got a ton of them, but he excites me a lot, just his sheer size.
I haven't seen tape like that in a while. Yeah, I haven't seen tape like that in a while where one move and he's gone.
Yeah, he looks special too. But Will has got that spark too. I think that it factor that you need in a quarterback. But if Vondy Cleveland commits, it's Vondy Cleveland. It's not even a question. I mean, that kid, the kid is insane to watch because we thought we were. Stephen Harris thought he was a junior in college a few months ago.
Yeah, I feel so bad about that.
I mean, I don't think you should feel bad about it. The kid's good.
I thought he was in the transfer portal. I said, "Oh, we need him." I'll call the Coach Chapman right now. Hey, Coach, what we doing about this Vondy guy?
He's a dude. He's a dude, man. And look, that defensive line, I think those guys got to stay heavy on that because they're going to be losing the likes of Banks, Gums, and Sapp. It's going to be open for business. You got to get after it.
For sure.
You got to get after it.
And we need some guys that can come and play right away too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Bonnie can play right now.
Sure.
Bonnie can play yesterday.
I thought he was transfer portal,
man. Keith says Will's mine too. I think kid's been rocking for a while like DJ was that means a lot. Yeah, that's kind of where I am in with Will, man. And again, I feel like just the strides he's made in just a couple of months being on that Under Armour game and then really knocking some socks off in that spring game. I'm expecting him to have a big season this year as well and really turn its head on its shoulders and possibly creep it to a 5-star. So we'll see. Offensive lineman, that's going to be the next big target. Trench work's going to be huge. I agree. We need to put some trenches. We need to get some bodies up there to keep it rock and rolling. But great show, man. Great little 45-minute show.
We got the guys in places to make guys want to come block, run, and tackle for them.
For sure. You got everything around it. Let's start filling in the gaps now, boys. Man, great day. Great Saturday on Jubilee June weekend. Last visual visit weekend, so we got to make it special. Then there's a dead period from June 23rd to July 31st. Doesn't mean guys can't commit. There's actually a lot of commitment dates set in between that because everybody's done. There's no more recruiting. So I expect some more noise over the next 3 weeks of where guys are going. But this kind of week will be quiet. And then at that point, it's football season. We're watching some practices. We're doing everything we need. We're breaking down film. We're doing all the good stuff, boys. So y'all be good. Smash that like button. Get in on the giveaway.
Smash the like button.
Check out some merch. We appreciate y'all, boys. That's Stephen Harris from Shelton. Until next time. Peace and love, baby.
Los Menderos.